Why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
What if I told you that Will Smith was never supposed to star in Men in Black? What if the entire script was rewritten while cameras were rolling? What if the film's most iconic prop sparked Hollywood's biggest theft mystery? Men in Black wasn't just about aliens hiding among us. Behind the scenes, this production was hiding something far more explosive. Feuds that nearly destroyed friendships, improvisation that saved entire scenes, and secrets so dangerous they could have killed the cast. For 28 years, these secrets have been buried, protected, neuralized from public memory. Until now, you think you know Men in Black. You don't know anything. And what you're about to discover will change how you watch this film forever. Secret 1. The casting disaster that almost killed the film. Here's what they never told you. Chris O'Donnell was officially cast as Agent J, not considered, not auditioned, cast. He'd already done costume fittings, table reads, weapons training. The role was his. Columbia Pictures had spent 8 months pursuing him exclusively. 8 months of negotiations, contract discussions, marketing plans, all built around Chris O'Donnell as the fresh-faced Agent J. Then, 14 days before filming began, he quit. Why? His agent had just watched Batman and Robin tank at the box office. O'Donnell was terrified. Another sidekick role will destroy your career as a leading man, his agent warned, and O'Donnell believed it. But here's where it gets insane. Columbia Pictures had no backup plan. Think about that. A $90 million production, 2 weeks from filming, and they had no other actor lined up. The panic was immediate. The studio called every young actor in Hollywood. David Schwimmer turned it down to stay with friends. Matthew Perry? Same reason. Brendan Fraser? Committed to another project. Will Smith wasn't even on the initial list. Why? Studio executives thought he was too comedic for the role. They wanted someone more serious, someone more traditional. But here's how Will Smith forced his way into cinematic history. His agent called Columbia directly, bypassing the normal channels, and demanded Smith be given a chance. Just one audition. The studio resisted. They'd already eliminated him from consideration. But Smith's agent wouldn't take no for an answer. So Will Smith flew to New York on his own dime.
You're gonna go in town, you go to Bloomingdale's, and find yourself some nice dresses, get yourself some shoes, find somewhere maybe.
No studio-paid travel, no guaranteed audition, just faith in himself. And here's the detail that will give you chills. Smith walked into that audition wearing a full black suit he'd purchased specifically for the meeting. He hadn't been asked to dress up, he just knew. Then he did something that changed everything. He improvised the entire "I make this look good" attitude that became Agent J's signature. That swagger, that confidence, it wasn't in the script. It was pure Will Smith, gambling his career on 15 minutes of improvisation. Director Barry Sonnenfeld was instantly convinced. But Columbia executives? Still skeptical. They had 48 hours before they'd have to delay production. So they gave Smith a 48-hour deadline to accept. He signed immediately. Can you imagine Men in Black without Will Smith? Can you picture Chris O'Donnell delivering, and what's that smell? Everything you love about this film, the chemistry, the humor, the heart, almost never happened. Secret 2. Tommy Lee Jones's brutal method acting. You've watched Men in Black dozens of times. You've seen the tension between Agent K and Agent J, that awkwardness, that friction, that feeling that K genuinely doesn't want this rookie around. Here's what you didn't know. It was real. Tommy Lee Jones deliberately refused to speak to Will Smith off-camera for the first 4 weeks of filming. Not a joke, not an exaggeration. Complete silence. Smith would try to make small talk between takes. Jones would stare at him silently, then walk away without responding. Smith would attempt jokes to build rapport. Jones wouldn't even acknowledge them. They wouldn't eat lunch together. They wouldn't socialize. Jones limited every interaction to only what was absolutely necessary for filming. Will Smith later described feeling genuinely hurt and confused by Jones's coldness. Crew members started whispering. They thought Jones actually disliked Smith. Some worried the film would suffer from their complete lack of chemistry. But here's what nobody knew. Tommy Lee Jones was employing an advanced method acting technique. He wanted Smith to feel like a rookie being dismissed by a veteran, exactly like Agent J's experience with Agent K. He wanted that awkwardness, that desperation, that genuine discomfort. And it worked. Every moment of tension you see on screen, every time J seems genuinely uncertain if K respects him, that's not acting. That's Will Smith experiencing real emotional distance from his co-star. Jones never told Sonnenfeld about his plan. He never told the producers. For 4 weeks, everyone thought they had a dysfunctional nightmare on their hands. Then, after 4 weeks, Jones invited Smith to dinner and explained everything. He'd been creating authentic emotional distance that couldn't be faked. Once Smith understood the strategy, they developed a genuine friendship. But here's the terrifying part. If Jones had miscalculated, if Smith had complained to producers or threatened to quit, the entire film could have collapsed. Jones was risking the entire production on a method acting experiment he'd never discussed with anyone. That's not dedication. That's obsession. Secret 3. The main villain was completely redesigned. Mid-production. 3 weeks into filming, director Barry Sonnenfeld watched the dailies and realized something catastrophic. The bug sucked. The original Edgar the Bug design was a traditional insectoid creature, hard exoskeleton, multiple eyes, standard monster movie fare. And it was boring, generic, not scary, not funny, just forgettable. Sonnenfeld halted production immediately and demanded industrial light and magic completely redesign the character. Do you understand what that means? 3 weeks into filming, millions of dollars already spent, scenes already shot, and the director said, "Scrap everything. Start over." Here's the chaos this created. ILM had already spent $2.3 million on the original design. They'd built animatronic components. They'd programmed digital effects. All of that work, gone. Worthless. Vincent D'Onofrio had trained for weeks to move like an insect using the original design as reference. That training became useless overnight. He had to start from scratch. Columbia Pictures was furious. They'd approved the original design. They'd signed off on the budget. And now their director was demanding they throw away millions and start over. But Sonnenfeld held firm. If we keep this design, the movie fails. Here's the redesign that saved the film. Sonnenfeld wanted the bug to be something deeply disturbing, a human body worn like an uncomfortable suit. Something that moved wrong. Something that looked almost right, but fundamentally incorrect. An alien wearing Edgar like ill-fitting clothes. ILM had 9 days to create this new concept. 9 days. They assigned over 80 artists, working around the clock, creating new designs, new animatronics, new digital models, all simultaneously. D'Onofrio had to completely relearn his performance. The way he walked, the way he moved his head, the way his body seemed to fight against itself. All developed in a matter of days. The cost? The bug redesign added $4.7 million to the budget and caused 12 days of production delays. But here's the truth. Without that redesign, Men in Black would be forgotten. The original bug would have been another generic movie monster. The redesign created an icon. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes are the ones you don't make. Secret 4. Will Smith's most iconic scene was completely improvised. "We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger." You remember that line? Everyone remembers that line. It's one of the most quotable moments in the entire film.
Find me at the morgue on 26, I'll show you.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute.
Will Smith's delivery is perfection, urgent, frustrated, hilarious. Here's what you didn't know: it wasn't in the script. None of it was in the script. The scene where Agent J confronts the Arquillian prince about Earth's destruction was supposed to be one line: "We need to find the galaxy." That's it. One line. Barry Sonnenfeld felt the scene was too flat, too simple, so he told Will Smith, "Make it more urgent." Smith took that direction and improvised the entire 3-minute rant. Elvis is dead. He passed away. The world is about to be destroyed. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger. None of those phrases existed in Ed Solomon's screenplay. The script supervisor later revealed she stopped trying to track what Smith was saying because it was completely unscripted. But here's where it gets complicated. Tommy Lee Jones had memorized specific responses to scripted dialogue. When Smith improvised entirely different questions and statements, Jones had to abandon his prepared lines and react authentically. Watch the scene again. You can see Jones processing in real time. He's genuinely figuring out how to respond. That's not acting, that's survival. Columbia Pictures tested 2 versions with audiences: the scripted version they'd filmed earlier and Smith's improvised version. The improvised version tested 37% higher. But Columbia executives initially demanded the scripted version be used. Why? Because they'd paid writers for specific dialogue. They couldn't just let actors make up their own lines. That wasn't how professional filmmaking worked. Sonnenfeld fought them. He screened both versions for studio heads. The improvised version won unanimously. Reshooting surrounding scenes to match Smith's improvisation added $217,000 to the budget. But that scene became one of the film's most memorable sequences, entirely because Will Smith ignored the script. Here's the question that should terrify every screenwriter: what if actors are better at dialogue than writers? Secret 5. The $47,000 props that sparked Hollywood's biggest theft. The Neuralizer, the flashy thing, the most iconic prop in Men in Black. Columbia Pictures commissioned 15 working Neuralizer props at $47,000 each. Why so expensive? Because they contained real LED technology, motorized components, and precision engineering. The total investment, $705,000. Then 7 of them disappeared. Not lost, not misplaced, stolen. Here's the first theft. 3 Neuralizers vanished from a locked prop truck during location filming in New York City. Security footage showed an unidentified person with set access entering the truck during a lunch break. Police investigated. Nothing was recovered. Here's the second theft. 2 Neuralizers went missing from the Sony Studios prop department in Los Angeles. An internal investigation suggested it was an inside job, but no one was ever charged. Here's the third incident. 2 more Neuralizers disappeared during the final week of filming. By this point, Columbia hired private security specifically to guard the remaining props. It didn't matter. They vanished anyway. But here's where it gets insane. All 7 stolen Neuralizers appeared on the black market within months, selling to collectors for between $80,000 and $120,000 each. Think about that. Someone stole props worth $47,000 each and sold them for nearly triple that amount. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This was organized crime. Columbia sued multiple collectors to recover the props. They won only 2 cases. The other 5 Neuralizers remain in private collections to this day. The total cost to the studio? Over $300,000 in investigations, legal fees, and replacement props. The Neuralizer thefts remain one of Hollywood's most expensive, unsolved prop crimes. Here's the question nobody wants to answer. if the thief had set access and detailed knowledge of prop security? Were they part of the production? Was someone on the crew orchestrating Hollywood's most brazen prop heist? We'll never know. The investigation went cold. The case remains open. Secret 6. Rip Torn's arrest. That was buried by the studio. Rip Torn played Zed, the stern, no-nonsense chief of Men in Black. On screen, he's authoritative, commanding, in control. Off-screen, during production, he was arrested for drunk driving. Here's what happened. During the 4th week of filming, Torn crashed his car into a production vehicle on his way to set. He spent 8 hours in jail before Columbia's lawyers bailed him out and negotiated for charges to be reduced. But here's the detail that made it problematic. Torn was legally required to attend court hearings and alcohol education classes during filming. The production had to schedule around his court dates. Barry Sonnenfeld's solution? Rewrite Zed's role to have fewer scenes, but longer individual takes. Scenes that would normally be shot over weeks were compressed into 4-day marathons where Torn worked 12-hour days to complete all his footage. But here's the cover-up. Columbia's publicity department convinced media outlets to suppress the arrest story by offering exclusive interview access to Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. The strategy worked. Most entertainment press never reported Torn's arrest until years later. Rescheduling to accommodate Torn's legal issues added 19 shooting days to the schedule and approximately $870,000 in overtime costs. The studio considered firing him. They discussed using another actor and reshooting his scenes. But Torn's performance was so strong in completed footage that they decided the expense was worth it. His legal troubles remained secret until his autobiography revealed the details in 2007. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Hollywood has always been very good at making inconvenient realities disappear. Sometimes they use neuralizers. Sometimes they just use money and influence. Secret 7. The set that almost killed everyone. The massive MIB headquarters, that sleek, retro-futuristic command center, was built inside an abandoned airplane hangar at the former Tustin Marine Corps Air Station in California. 3 weeks into filming, structural engineers discovered the hangar's roof was deteriorating and could potentially collapse. Production was evacuated immediately. Here's the inspection that revealed the disaster. The hangar was built in 1942. Over 50 years later, it had extensive wood rot in its support beams that previous inspections had missed. Engineers calculated there was a 40% chance of catastrophic roof failure within 3 months. The production couldn't wait that long, but here's the impossible decision Columbia faced. The MIB headquarters set cost $6.2 million to build. Moving it to another location would cost approximately $4 million and require 6 weeks. Reinforcing the existing hangar would cost $2.8 million and take 4 weeks. Columbia chose reinforcement. Over 200 construction workers installed steel support columns throughout the hangar while filming continued around them. Some scenes actually show the support beams in the background, digitally removed in post-production. But here's the near disaster nobody publicized. During the final week of filming in that location, a section of roof did partially collapse at 3 a.m. when no one was present. The production had finished filming just 11 hours earlier. Let that sink in. 11 hours. If the collapse had happened during shooting, dozens of cast and crew could have been killed. Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Linda Fiorentino, Barry Sonnenfeld. Men in Black could have become Hollywood's deadliest production disaster. Columbia quietly relocated the remaining scenes to a soundstage and demolished the hangar immediately after production wrapped. Here's what keeps me awake at night. How many other productions have continued filming in dangerous conditions? How many near misses never get reported? Secret 8. Vincent D'Onofrio's health crisis. Vincent D'Onofrio gained 50 pounds for the Edgar the Bug role. Why? Because he wanted the human host body to look swollen and uncomfortable. like the alien was growing inside, stretching the skin from within. He ate approximately 10,000 calories daily for 8 weeks before filming began. Then, during the 3rd week of filming, D'Onofrio experienced chest pains and shortness of breath during an action sequence. The set medic called an ambulance immediately, fearing a heart attack. D'Onofrio was hospitalized for observation. Tests revealed he hadn't had a heart attack, but the rapid weight gain had elevated his blood pressure to dangerous levels and put severe strain on his cardiovascular system. Here's the doctor's warning. Physicians told D'Onofrio that continuing at his current weight could cause permanent heart damage or actual cardiac arrest. They recommended he lose the weight immediately and withdraw from the film. D'Onofrio refused. Think about that. A doctor tells you that continuing could kill you, and you refuse. That's not dedication. That's something darker. Here's the compromise that saved his health. The production hired a full-time cardiac nurse to monitor D'Onofrio's vitals between every take. He was placed on blood pressure medication and a medically supervised diet that slowly reduced his weight while maintaining the bloated appearance for continuity. D'Onofrio's medical care and the production delays caused by his hospitalization added $342,000 to the budget. After filming wrapped, it took him 11 months to lose the weight. He later called the physical transformation the most dangerous thing I've ever done as an actor. But here's the question nobody asks. Should actors be allowed to do this? Should productions enable performers to destroy their health for a role? Where's the line between artistic commitment and self-destruction? Secret 9. The theme song created in 4 hours. Here come the men in black. You know every word? Everyone knows every word. It's one of the most iconic theme songs in film history. It hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It sold over 2.7 million copies. Here's what you didn't know. It was created in 4 hours. The original theme song was an orchestral composition by Danny Elfman that Columbia executives found too serious for a comedy. They demanded a hip-hop song featuring Will Smith to capitalize on his music career. RCA Records agreed to produce it. Producers Patrick Veron and Nasir Jones were given 4 weeks to write, record, and produce a complete theme song. They completed it in 3 weeks and delivered it to RCA executives, who rejected it as not commercial enough. This happened 6 days before the film's release date. Here's the panic solution. Will Smith, composer Patrice Rushen, and producer Polk flew to New York and locked themselves in a recording studio for one 17-hour marathon session. They wrote the iconic Men in Black theme in approximately 4 hours, recorded it in 6 hours, and mixed it in 7 hours. The song was delivered to RCA 2 days before the deadline. But here's the detail that made it brilliant. Smith incorporated actual dialogue from the film into the lyrics, creating a meta-commentary where Agent J raps about being in Men in Black. This wasn't planned. It was improvisation born from exhaustion and time pressure. The 4-hour emergency replacement became more successful than anyone imagined possible. Here's the lesson. Sometimes the best creative work happens under impossible deadlines. Sometimes panic produces perfection. Secret 10. Tommy Lee Jones's secret pain. Tommy Lee Jones's deadpan delivery as Agent K became legendary. That stiff, emotionless expression, that robotic precision, that absolute economy of facial movement. Here's what you didn't know. He was in physical pain. Tommy Lee Jones underwent emergency dental surgery during the 2nd week of filming after breaking a molar on craft services food. The procedure required extensive work on his jaw, leaving him in significant pain, and limiting his facial mobility for weeks. Jones's characteristically stiff Agent K delivery wasn't entirely acting. His face genuinely hurt when he tried to make expressions, so he minimized facial movement. But here's the detail that made it worse. Jones was taking prescription pain medication that made him genuinely drowsy and flat. His slightly vacant stare and slow speech pattern in many scenes came from being medicated while filming. Director Barry Sonnenfeld later admitted he didn't realize how much Jones was struggling until he saw him grimacing between takes. The studio wanted to delay filming until Jones recovered fully. Jones refused, arguing the delay would cost millions. Instead, the production modified his dialogue to require less mouth movement and reframed scenes to shoot him from angles that hid his facial swelling. Here's the irony. Jones's performance became iconic specifically because of limitations he was trying to hide. The robotic precision that defined Agent K came partly from an actor in genuine physical discomfort, trying to minimize facial movement. After the film's success, Jones admitted, "The dental issue accidentally improved my performance by forcing absolute economy of expression." Sometimes our limitations become our strengths. Sometimes pain creates art. Secret 11. Frank was 7. Different dogs. Frank was 7 pugs used for different shots. Sitting, walking, close-ups, the smoking scene, talking scenes, and 2 backups. Each had different handlers and trainers. Their facial markings, sizes, and ear positions varied. A dedicated makeup artist made them look identical on camera. Animal handling for Frank alone cost $378,000. After release, all 7 were adopted by crew. Multiple lawsuits followed over who owned the real Frank. Secret 12. Linda Fiorentino. Replaced. Sarah Jessica Parker. Mid-production. Parker was originally cast as Laurel and filmed 2 weeks before quitting. She couldn't handle Smith's constant improvisation, calling it unprofessional. She demanded Smith stop improvising or she'd quit. The production refused to limit Smith. Parker left. Fiorentino got the call Friday, was offered the role Saturday, filmed Monday. She had 1 weekend to prepare. Instead of fighting Smith's improvisation, she matched it. Their chemistry was electric because both were improvising. Parker's footage was scrapped, cost $1.2 million. Secret 13. The ending was completely rewritten. 6 weeks before release. The original climax had the bug battle in subway tunnels. K dying unresourced, J flooding the tunnels. Test audiences hated it. Claustrophobic, confusing, unsatisfying. Ed Solomon had 72 hours to write a new ending. He created the observatory setting, galaxy on Orion's collar, K being regurgitated alive. This happened 6 weeks before release. Building new sets and effects required 3 weeks of additional filming. Cost $13.3 million. ILM assigned 150 artists working around the clock. Completed 9 days before premiere. Tested 62% higher. Secret 14. Will Smith's suit was 30% CGI. Smith refused to wear the heavy wool suit after 2 days. It caused profuse sweating. He couldn't perform while miserable. Solution: Smith wore lightweight cotton. ILM digitally replaced it with proper wool texture. Digital suit replacement cost $2.7 million. ILM had to create digital fabric that moved realistically and matched Jones's practical suit. One of the film's most expensive invisible effects. Secret 15. The alien autopsy used real cow organs. Sonnenfeld wanted authentic reactions, so they used real cow intestines, stomach, liver, and lungs from a slaughterhouse. Under hot studio lights, the smell was overwhelming. Multiple crew members vomited. They evacuated the soundstage twice for ventilation. Fiorentino needed a medical mask with mentholatum. They violated health codes. No proper permits. LA County health inspectors fined Columbia $73,000. Professional sanitization cost $42,000 because the smell permeated the walls. Secret 16. Spielberg tried removing his name from credits. Spielberg brought Men in Black to Columbia as executive producer. After watching the first cut, he demanded his name be removed. He'd envisioned a serious sci-fi thriller like Jaws. Sonnenfeld delivered straight comedy. Spielberg felt betrayed. threatened to publicly disavow it, but his contract required his name in credits. Columbia showed him test screening data proving the comedy approach was more commercial. Compromise. His credit was minimized to smallest contractual size, placed late in credits. When it earned $589 million, Spielberg admitted he was wrong. Secret 17. The post office scene used real customers. The post office scene was filmed in an operating USPS location in Manhattan with real customers who didn't know they were being filmed. Hidden cameras disguised as security equipment. Several customers asked if it was Halloween. One elderly woman became frightened. Filming without consent violated privacy laws. Columbia hired private investigators to track down over 100 people using timestamps and transaction records. 47 refused to sign releases and had to be digitally removed. Cost $367,000. Secret 18. Jeeves was expanded. After his head explosion got the biggest laugh. Jeeves was originally one scene. Test audience's biggest laugh came from his exploding head. Columbia demanded expansion. Solomon had 1 week to write additional scenes. Shalhoub was committed to another project. Only 3 days available. Baker's team built 3 new exploding heads in 48 hours. Shalhoub filmed 14 hours daily for 3 days. Jeeves became beloved with minimal screen time, returned in the sequel. Secret 19. The galaxy on Orion's belt was added 3 days before release. The galaxy solution wasn't in the original script. Original version had a hidden spaceship. Audiences found it confusing. 3 days before locking the film, they were still fixing the ending. Parks suggested something small. Solomon pitched the cat collar. ILM had 72 hours to create the shots. 40 effects artists worked without sleep. Film had to be delivered in exactly 72 hours or miss release. Galaxy shots completed with 6 hours to spare. The film's cleverest twist was conceived and executed in 3 panic-filled days. Secret 20. The film's aesthetic came from a canceled theme park ride. Production designer Bo Welch based the entire look on concept art from a canceled 1995 Universal Studios ride called The Men in Black Experience. The sleek technology, retro-futuristic headquarters, black and white color scheme, all from theme park Imagineers. Universal owned the designs, but Columbia was producing the film. Complex licensing where Universal leased their own concepts back to themselves. Negotiation took 6 weeks. Cost Columbia $300,000. After the film's success, Universal built the attraction in 1999. Secret 21. The neuralizer flash could cause seizures. The neuralizer's bright flash effect was so intense that Columbia had to add seizure warnings before test screenings. 3 audience members experienced adverse reactions during early previews. The effects team had to reduce flash intensity and frequency in post-production, costing an additional $89,000 in digital revisions across all neuralizer scenes. Secret 22. Smith and Jones nearly quit over creative differences. Mid-production, Smith and Jones had a massive argument about improvisational approach versus script adherence. Jones felt Smith's constant ad-libbing was unprofessional. Smith felt Jones was too rigid. Both threatened to walk. Sonnenfeld locked them in his trailer for 3 hours until they worked it out. The production shut down for half a day, costing $127,000. Secret 23. The morgue scene was filmed in a real morgue. The morgue scenes were shot in an actual Los Angeles County morgue with real cadavers in adjacent rooms. The smell and atmosphere were authentic. Fiorentino later said it was the most disturbing filming experience of her career. They filmed overnight shifts when no active autopsies were scheduled. Cost savings: $200,000 versus building a set. Secret 24. The Alien Language was created by sound designer who didn't know the film's plot. The alien languages weren't scripted. Sound designer had only character descriptions. no plot details. He created entirely random vocalizations. When Sonnenfeld heard them during editing, he realized they accidentally matched the intended alien personalities perfectly. Pure coincidence that saved weeks of sound redesign work. Secret 25. The film's opening was reshot after September test screening. The original opening was darker, showing graphic alien violence. September 1996. Test screening audience feedback said it set wrong tone. Columbia ordered complete reshoot with lighter approach showing the Border Patrol sequence. Cost: $1.1 million. The new opening tested 45% better for establishing the film's comedic tone. Secret 26. Tommy Lee Jones's sunglasses cost $1,200 per pair. The Ray-Ban Predator, 2 sunglasses worn by agents, were custom-made at $1,200 per pair. Production ordered 50 pairs. Jones broke or lost 11 pairs during filming. The sunglasses budget alone exceeded $60,000. After release, Ray-Ban couldn't keep them in stock. The film created a $150 million sunglasses trend. Secret 27. The Bug's final form required 200 puppeteers. The Bug's true form in the climax required 200 puppeteers operating simultaneously for wide shots. The coordination was so complex they rehearsed for 6 weeks. One shot, Bug emerging from Edgar, required 47 takes over 3 days. The animatronic Bug cost $3.2 million, the single most expensive practical effect in the film. Secret 28. The film was nearly rated R. Original cut included more graphic violence and language. MPAA initially gave it an R rating. Columbia faced losing the summer youth audience. They spent $500,000 on digital edits, removing blood, altering language, and softening violence. The PG-13 appeal on third submission succeeded. Those edits made the difference between $250 million and $589 million worldwide. Gross. 28 secrets hidden for decades. From casting disasters to near-death experiences, from prop thefts to last-minute rewrites, Men in Black survived chaos that should have destroyed it. Chris O'Donnell's departure gave us Will Smith. Tommy Lee Jones's pain created Agent K's iconic deadpan. The Bug redesign saved the villain. 4-Hour Panic created a #1 hit song. Every problem could have ended the film. Instead, each made it better. Would Men in Black be as good if everything went according to plan? Maybe chaos isn't the enemy of great filmmaking. Maybe it's the secret ingredient. Which secret shocked you most? The neuralizer theft? The collapsing set? D'Onofrio's heart scare? Drop your thoughts below. And remember, you never saw this video. Or did you? Protect the Earth, question everything, and stay alert. The truth is out there.